Divas driving us mad. Jeremy Clarkson causes a stir as he shifts into untouchable Top Gear. I do versus I don't. Top designers slam gay marriage but imply brutality towards women is okay. And parenting pressure. Just how traditionally can same-sex couples raise their kids? Hello and welcome to Backlash, the show where opinions matter the most and controversy is king. And with me in the studio each and every week, of course, the Daily Telegraph's Sarah Lamarquand and the lovely as ever Melissa Hoyer from news.com.au. Ladies, always so great to have you here each week discussing all those wonderful topics, getting into the nitty gritty. Let's go to our first topic then. And he's an on-screen icon, perhaps even the most popular TV presenter of today. This week, however, Top Gear's Jeremy Clarkson got suspended by the BBC for allegedly punching a producer in the face. Well, that sounds pretty bad as it is. The fact is, it was reportedly because Clarkson got a plate of cold cut meat instead delivered to his room rather than a hot meal. Really says a lot about the man. Now, we know divas exist and can quite often make some pretty strange and out there demands. But bottom line, this was an act of violence on another person, so was the BBC right to suspend him, and should they bring him back, Mel?
Oh, I mean, he absolutely should have been suspended, and good on the BBC for doing that. But you can just tell that they are so backtracking on this. This man is like a child. He's now allegedly going to have a minder. I mean, what's that about? A grown 54-year-old man having a minder on the set? I mean, for God's sake, he talks about cars. I don't care. He should be out. Forget it. His track record is appalling, and we keep having these people back. If a woman was to do it, she would have been out on her ear. So why he's different, I don't know.
Well, an online petition calling for the star's reinstatement has been set up by the political blogger Guido Fawkes, and it's accrued more than 975,000 signatures since the presenter's suspension. Reports also suggest the BBC, as Mel mentioned, has appointed him a minder who will manage him and the show's executive producer. With some 350 million viewers globally and subsequently a stellar rating for the launch of Top Gear France this week, is money and profit more important than common courtesy and social safety, Sarah?
Well, I fear that to the people that felt compelled to sign that petition, maybe it is. What were you thinking? To those 975,000 people, there are so many worthy causes around the world involving life and death that are deserving of your signature on a petition. And I'm sorry, but Jeremy Clarkson is not one of those causes. As Melissa said, this is an over-entitled, spoiled, overindulged, overpaid human being who's more than enjoyed his moment in the limelight. I'm sorry, a cold plate of meat? God, I should be so lucky. I'm about to pop down and have a cold salad at my desk and no one's fetching that. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm tired of these divas and I'm tired of this glamorisation of thuggery. What sort of message is it sending to, you know, all of our sons, for example?
Exactly. It's saying that you're a bloke, you can be a bloke and get away with this. I mean, as we said, his track record is appalling. It's not just one little incident where he accidentally hit someone.
Well, you know, once you get to the top, you can do what you want. Anyway, our next topic centres around two of the most respected and recognised designers in the fashion world. I am, of course, talking about Dolce Gabbana, the gay couple who are well known to be against gay marriage despite 23 years together in a same-sex union. Now, it seems they're at it again, sparking a firestorm last week by calling IVF offspring synthetic children. That was in Panorama magazine. Apparently, Elton John, Ricky Martin, other hosts, a host of other parents who do or who did use in vitro fertilisation to have their children have blasted the fashionistas, calling them destructive. Now, while their words may be destructive and while some may view their opinions on gay marriage as hypocritical, the fact is that individuals still do have a right to think and say what they choose. But should these public figures tone it down a little, given the controversial topics that they are hollering on about, Mel?
I mean, interestingly, with this couple, you know, of course, we can have our opinion on anything. Their following is a very sort of wide circle of sexuality. You've got a lot of gay people who do happen to like Dolce Gabbana. So I think it sort of was an unfortunate choice of words. And even when I looked at an interview that they did after the backlash, they found it very hard to explain what they really meant. they are both from quite traditional Italian, Sicilian backgrounds. So their idea of traditional marriage, sure, is that very traditional. They, obviously being two gay men, it just seems a bit of a juxtaposing line to suddenly say, I don't believe in gay marriage, but we are gay, and I don't like what you have done, Elton and Ricky Martin, and people who have then chosen to have children via IVF or via surrogates. So I think their own message is a bit confused. They are quite traditional, but they're two gay men who were in a homosexual relationship themselves. So I don't really get what they were trying to say. I think their words were a little bit sort of misconstrued. They didn't quite get what they were saying.
Moving on, same topic, designers also caused a backlash with choice of campaign style. One fashion publicist tweeting, I guess simulating gangbangs are fine, but IVF and same-sex marriage are not. Of course, you can see there the image showing a woman being held down in broader picture. You can actually see her wrists are being pinned down by the man on top of her, and a group of other men just standing around and watching. So just because she looks amazing, she looked pretty good, should we ignore the fact that it is actually depicting brutality towards women, Sarah?
No, we shouldn't ignore that, and it's hardly the first time that a fashion designer, male or female, has used some fairly stereotypical and offensive imagery of beautiful looking women, as Moira says, but in situations of brutality and degradation to sell clothes. So that's how the fashion industry works, for better or worse. But what it does do here, of course, and that's why the fashion publicist has tweeted it, is it does expose the hypocrisy of these two men coming out and speaking as though they're church leaders or ultra conservatives. And of course that is at odds with this sort of behaviour that they have celebrated through their work over decades. So it's hard for customers to I suppose reason that disparity between how they live their life and how they've marketed their brand, and then these very ultra conservative comments. Look, I support their view to express that they don't support gay marriage, even though I'm a passionate supporter of gay marriage. They're welcome to say that, and certainly people should feel they can say that without being held down. But the comments about IVF and calling children that were conceived via IVF synthetic children, well, that's really offensive, and there's not much that Elton John and I see eye to eye on, but this is one topic where we do.
Good. Me too.
All right, our last topic of the week now, and a woman raised by two lesbians has come out against gay marriage and defended Dolce & Gabbana's views on traditional families. Heather Barwick says while she feels very much like a daughter of the gay community, she says she has changed her view on gay marriage and doesn't believe it should be allowed. She also says it's only with some time and distance from her childhood that she was actually able to reflect on her experiences and recognise the long-term consequences that same-sex parenting had on her. She says that as she watches her own children loving and being loved by their father each day, she can see the beauty and wisdom in traditional marriage and parenting. So bottom line, are same-sex couples able to provide children with that fundamental love that they need to lead a well-balanced, emotionally stable life, Mel?
Of course they are. I mean, obviously she has had an issue with this particular woman. She did grow up with a father who then chose to leave the family situation, I think when she was 3 or 4. So, but to actually then say that you can't have a loving upbringing because you have a same-sex mother and mother, or father and father, is ridiculous. I mean, I would rather my children be in a loving environment, whether it's gay or whether it's a heterosexual relationship. It has to be happy, no matter what it is. So I think we have to nearly get over the gender wars of happiness and just say, well, someone has 2 kids, they have 2 mums, 2 kids and 2 fathers, but they are all happy and they are in a loving, nurturing environment. That's what we all want for all of our children.
Absolutely. Heather Barwick only realised this in her adult years. So should discussion about this be taking place with children of same-sex couples at an earlier age to nip these emotional concerns in the bud, so to speak, Sarah?
Oh, certainly. Look, I think every parent that means well and wants the best for their child believes that you should be having a frank conversation if whatever their circumstances are. But I agree with what Melissa has said here. When we talk about a stable, loving upbringing, how that is measured is actually not on the grounds of a so-called traditional family. I'm sure I don't need to tell many people watching who've grown up in broken homes, for example, that the definition of love and their relationship with their mother and father wasn't necessarily defined by the parents' relationship with one another. I happened to be the child of a so-called traditional family. My parents were together and stayed married, but I didn't have a relationship with my father either, just like Heather has spoken about. So I understand what she is saying. It's not easy when you become a parent yourself to look back, and I too see the relationship that my husband has with our sons, and I think, gee, that would be amazing. I would have loved to have had that, but I wasn't deprived that because of same-sex marriage. And as Melissa pointed out, by her own admission, Heather has said that her father wasn't a particularly good dad. And isn't that what the issue here is, that some people aren't good parents and they fail their child, and to blame it on either divorce or same-sex marriage, I think is really unfair, and it's not helpful. So I certainly don't dismiss her feelings, but I think she's pinning the blame on the wrong culprit here.
Absolutely. All right, ladies, before we end up, let's take a look at this week's shock frock, and not so much the frock, t-shirt or shoes, but what's actually printed on them. I am sorry, but wearing something that you flush just is not cool. This is the latest, as you can see on the screen there, what it is and what it's being used for. What do you think, girls?
So you think Julie Bishop, because she loves her emojis, she might wear one of these?
Oh, she might.
I really hope not. I mean, yeah, seriously. There's so many ways you could describe it, but none of them particularly.
It's a pure stunt print.
Yeah.
That is absolutely right. And all we have time for, more Backlash next week.